grace and put on him. He understood in that moment of goodness traded for evil, even the vilest man who was seeking to kill him, it allowed him to see, you are good, I am evil, I have done what is wrong. Isn't that what Jesus did? Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Isn't that probably why, as best we can understand, the Apostle Paul came to Christ? He's standing here. He's watching all the coats. There is Stephen. He looks up. He sees Jesus standing. He's being stoned. Father, forgive them. He blesses those who are persecuting him. He's blessing the people killing him. And this self-righteous rabbi in charge of the evil, I think his heart got melted. You will never be more like God than when you give evil people good. You'll never be more like God. And I don't think you'll ever do it in your own power. See, if you're not surrendered to God, and if you're not progressively separate from this world's values, and if you don't have a sober self-assessment, and if you don't have the power and the community of serving and love, you will never have the resources to supernaturally respond to evil with good. Let me give you a picture of the final statement. He says, good will overcome evil, doesn't it? Do not be overcome by evil. Don't get in this vicious cycle, but overcome evil with good. Let me give you the picture of how this works. It's one I'm a little ashamed to share, but I've shared a lot of other stuff, so why stop now, right? And sometimes when you've done really terrible things in the past, at least, when you got 30 years on them, you can live with them a little bit more. I played college basketball and we had a fellow on our team who was a Vietnam vet who was decorated in terms of, he came back sort of a hero. He had a scar from here to here all the way through, was really shot up, a lot of trauma. He had a tremendous, was in prison. I think he got out, I don't know all the story, but he'd been in prison once or twice. Then he went to Vietnam, and he was about 6'6", 6'7", maybe 6'8", and had a vertical leap of probably somewhere between 40 and 46 inches. It was, literally there was times I thought the guy was going to hurt his head on the rim. But because of all the trauma, the reason he was playing at this little school instead of a big school is he had terrible hands. And sort of the neuromuscular, so, if you threw him a really hard pass, some of them he caught, and some of them sort of slipped through his hands. And, sometimes I'd watch him, he'd go for a rebound, he'd get it in his elbows by the time it got down. But, no one else was up there so he could get it. And his name was Jerry. And Jerry had been through a lot. His description is, I'm an evil man. And he wasn't kidding. He was an evil man. And he found out I was a Christian, and something happened along the way. He hated Christians. He hated Christians. And so, there's 4 girls to every guy on our campus. I made a commitment to be sexually pure, and Jerry finds out about this, and all I can tell you is, some of you men know the level of dialogue in a locker room. And he just sliced me and diced me from morning to noon to night and said things about me. And this was, I've kind of grew up playing hoop in the playgrounds and inner cities, so this was not a black-white issue at all. And in fact, I usually have been one of the few white guys on most of the teams I've played on, which has been really great. And so Jerry, though, he had this chip. That's what he called me, chip. Chip. And he would say things like in front of all the guys, so you not getting any, huh? Because you're one of them you Christian little white boy. And then he would just, egg me on and on and on. And it's just said things that I could never, ever, ever repeat, but attacks on your manhood, your anything you can imagine. And he was an amazingly intelligent guy. He was an amazing artist, really gifted. And he had everyone fooled into thinking he was this reformed guy. He was the biggest drug dealer on the campus. And the fellow who was across the hall from me, my room was here, and the room was here, and I was going to my room, and the door opened, and, this is, the early 70s. Everyone's smoking dope and everywhere, and everyone's sleeping with everybody, and I guess it still goes on a lot, but, it was just crazy. And so the door opens, and all this, bluish smoke comes out, and I walk through, and Jerry sees me, and I get to about here on my door, and I get this, and this guy literally puts me up against the wall. He understands he's on probation. The story is he's this reformed guy. And his hands were like this big. And he looked at me and he said, Chip, I understand you saw what you saw, But if what you saw ever is communicated to anybody, I'll kill you. And I've killed a lot of people, and one more wouldn't make a bit of difference. You understand what I'm saying? And I mean, I understood. I mean, I'm a freshman. and you know, this guy, this was, you know, there's times where you think people are bluffing. I mean, he ain't bluffing. And I remember deciding, one, I'm scared to death. And it was my first experience with the word hate. I don't mean dislike, annoyance. I mean hate. I hated him. I had anger fantasies. And I thought of things to do to hurt him. And he was really big and I was really small. So none of those really. And so the only thing I could do, my hero was Pete Maravich. So I could really handle the ball and I did all that jazz. And so in warm-ups and stuff, I would come and I'd throw a pass like that as hard as I could, or through my legs or behind the back. Bang, right here. And I knew, slipped through his hand, boom, right in his face. You know? Evil, evil. And you know, what are you going to say? You're on the break, he's the guy, bam, right through your legs. It bounces off his chest, out of bounds in practice. And Jerry, come on. The coach gets on him. I'm going, I just love it. And it didn't really help things. And I had a very godly guy in our campus ministry named Jerry, another Jerry, ironically. And Jerry opened up Romans chapter 12, and he read verses 14 to 21, and he explained it to me. And he said, Chip, evil for evil will just escalate. This is the greatest opportunity in your life to demonstrate the reality of Jesus. You say you love him. And this is what I want you to do. And he began to describe what good for evil would look like. And I mean, Jerry was, you know, Chip, get my bag, because freshmen have to carry that. Chip, get me some more Coke. You know, I mean, I was like his slave. I hated it. And I remember deciding, not because I felt anything, because my confession is, there were windows of time, seriously. If I had a gun and he walked in the door, I'd shot him. I hated it. I mean, it was eating me up. And so I made a willful choice, and it was hard, but I just decided, oh, Jerry, I got your bag. I'll put it on the bus for you. Jerry, you need any more drink? I got some more for you. When Jerry went to the showers, all your stuff would be there, and we'd put it in the laundry and put it in a little bag, and the trainers would take care of it. I took his stuff, put it in the bag, dropped it off for him, then I took his clothes and I folded them and I put them next to his shoes. What's happening here? Who did that? Chip. What are you up to? You trying that Christian stuff on me? I said, no, Jerry, just want to help out. No more behind the back passes in his face. Hey, Jerry, nice job. A little pat on the rear end when he made a good play. Now, I'd love to say that, 3 weeks later, dear Jesus, forgive me, I'm a sinner, and Chip is such a wonderful person. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. Little by little, he kind of took it off. We got to the end of the year, and we played in a big tournament. We were downtown, and we're walking, he and I, and he stops at a corner, kind of a windy. You know something? I wanted to say, what? But I didn't. He said, there's only two people I respect on this team. Me, because I'm evil and I know it, and I'm on my way to hell, and I'm going to burn if there is one. And you. I disagree with every single thing you say and believe. But if I was ever in any way going to be a Christian, I'd say I'd want to be one like you. He said, I'm done messing with your mind, kid. I'll leave you alone. And I said, thanks, Jerry. I really appreciate that. And I prayed, and I blessed him. And God took away my anger. And God gave me a love for him. And I wish there was a happy ending. I really never knew what happened to Jerry. I heard about a year later that he got picked up on a drug situation and went back to prison. I don't know how it ended. I want to tell you, however deeply you've been wounded, whoever hurt you, lied to you, betrayed you, walked out on you, our 12 Christians supernaturally respond to evil with good. And good is more powerful than evil. And you can bless them by his power and grace. And my question is, with that person in mind right now that you started with, what is it God wants you to do? Have you ever fully, completely start with forgiving the choice today? And then ask, is there any way possible to do good to those that have done evil to you? And you will be sons and daughters. You will be like your Father who's in heaven. And the world will know God sent his Son, Jesus. Because it won't make any sense. There's no explanation for what you're doing than that God has done something so radical in you that you would be like his Son to those who will know in the depth of their soul that your present treatment doesn't correlate with their actions and behavior toward you. For some of you, what you just heard, it just sounds impossible. I mean, it just sounds like, God, you've got to be kidding. I mean, you don't understand. I mean, he walked out on me. I had 3 kids. I mean, he was my business partner. Or, God, surely you don't want me to give good for evil. Let me just tell you, this is not the good, moral, nice life of trying to please people and doing the best that you can. This is a supernatural, impossible life. I can't do it. You can't do it. The Jerry in my life, nothing in me wanted to be kind to him. As I shared, and to my shame, I literally wanted to kill him. But it held me captive. What I want you to know is this is the moment. Not only do you forgive, but where appropriate and with proper boundaries, you need to figure ways to do good in exchange for the evil that you've received. And just lift up your hands and say, God, I can't do this, but I will choose, I will act, I will do what I don't feel like doing by faith, because your word says, don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. I want you to know, I'm sure most of you have a Jerry in your life, and I'm on the other side of it now. In fact, I've had a number of Jerrys since this time. God's word is true. And he can break the chains of the bitterness in your heart. And he can actually bring you to a point where you'll hear something positive, a blessing about the Jerry in your life, and your unconscious response will be joy. And you'll know, wow, God's Spirit lives in me, because that could never happen if it was just up to me. Being a Romans 12 Christian is the kind of person that's infectious. It changes everything. This isn't like go to church, read your Bible some, go on a missions trip, give more money, be religious. Oh, here's a bunch of rules. This is a revolutionary life. 11 chapters of grace, what God has done for us. And then chapter 12, we get the profile. Your relationship with God, surrendered to him, a certain day, a certain time. You've bowed the knee. You've said to God, I'm all in. And then it's a process. You are separate from the world's values. You're on a basis every day saying, no to the world, mind renewed, yes to God. And then you get that sober self-assessment. You look in the mirror and you say, I don't have it all together. No one does. But God made me just the way he made me. I don't think too high. I don't think too low. I think accurately about myself. And then what many of you are experiencing right now, it's serving in love. It's not just sitting in a church or being involved in a religious activity. You're engaged in people's lives. And when you serve in love, you get authentic community as the byproduct. And then finally, we supernaturally respond to evil. As I open this book, and I never opened it until I was 18, but when I read through, especially the book of Acts, I believe the reason they transformed their world, they turned it upside down in about a generation and a half, is because they didn't have people who intellectually believed things about Jesus. They were Romans 12 Christians. Can you imagine what would happen in your group, in your town, in your community, in your home, in your marriage, in your singleness, if you said to God as you look at that workbook, I'm going to fill in my name. I'm going to make a specific commitment today. I can't do it, but this is the profile. God will give me the grace. Lord, I commit today to be a Romans 12 Christian, grace-driven, relationship-oriented. Would you be willing to do that if you haven't already? And then here's the question. As we wrap things up, I want you to discuss this. What would happen? Just think outside the box. What might happen in your life, in your church, in your group, in your community,
If for 12 months, just the people right now said, we're going to be Romans 12 Christians. Hey, we'll have our ups, we'll have our downs, we may blow, but we're going to be Romans 12 Christians. May God multiply your tribe. May He do a work in you and through you beyond your wildest dreams. And for some, you might say, hey, I just don't know where to go from here. And for others, you got a great game plan. You've been thinking about it for the last few weeks. For those that need a little help, go to our website. There's a number of excellent resources to help you become our Romans 12 Christians. Thank you for letting me join you. May God bless you richly, and may He give you the grace to experience all that He is and become all that He saved you to be.